to the second tutorial for how to use the seating chart app. During this tutorial, I'm going to go over how to add individual desks and items, as well as a few new changes. So first of all, if there are any changes that I've made that are major, I'll go ahead and put them here from newest to oldest. So for example, here it shows that I've uploaded a new tutorial video, so when you see these changes, you might want to check it out. So here, I'm just going to quickly log in real quick, and then I will go ahead and start. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go over how you can create items and desks individually and kind of just organize them in your class. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new class, and we'll go from there. So class 3, you'll see how any spaces get converted to an underscore, and I'll just quickly set up my classroom size. Okay, and then now I have this. So the first thing that I want to notice is that currently placeholder is selected, and what this means is that anything added will be in a gray box, and this is mainly for any sort of references within your classroom. So these might be teachers' desks, they might be actual tables. But yeah, it's just for references, and then it can be either a rectangle or a circle. You can pre-change this. So for example, I could write in teacher's desk, and I could change the width or the height beforehand. So maybe I want 100. Let me do that. Okay, and then now if I add that, it'll go ahead and add whatever that is. As long as it's highlighted blue, I've selected it. So any changes I make here are also going to be displayed on the block. However, if I tap away, whatever I change here is going to be something completely new. So it doesn't affect this, but if I add a new one, it will have affected this one. Beyond that, if I have something I don't like anymore, I can remove it. If I have something I really like, I can go ahead and just press on it. So it's highlighted blue at these little corners. I see the information here. And then if I press add, it goes ahead and it duplicates it, but it puts it on top of the last one. So you'd either have to drag it away, or for example, if you want a different shape, you can make it a different shape. You could drag it somewhere else. And then from here, you can't just convert from placeholder to desk if you're pressing on something. So what I would suggest is if you want to add desks after you've added items, you just press away from the item so it's no longer highlighted. And then from here, just select desk, select whatever setting. If you want, you can just go ahead and add a new one. You don't have to pre-fill settings. And from here, you can always drag it as you want, change the size, change the position, and really just move it to wherever you want it to be. So for this example, I think I'll just do an example where I'm going to make the individual desks. And then, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that maybe I'm happy with this template and I want all desks to look like this. So from here, I can go ahead and I can just press add a lot of times. And what that does is it just duplicates the exact template. And so now I can go ahead and kind of just drag these and just put them right next to each other. So just give me a moment to go ahead and get some of this started. Sorry about that. And then as you're doing it, one really useful thing that you could keep in mind is that you can use the X and Y over here, the horizontal and vertical position, to properly match up your item. So you can either do what you think looks right, like for example, this one looks more or less correct. Or if you want to be super exact, you can, for example, look at the vertical position for this, 214, and if you want this to be the same vertically, it should also be 214. The same thing if you want to match where these are horizontally, you could double check that all of their X positions are the same. So it would be 185, this one you'd want to change to 185, and this you would want to change to 185, so they're all lined up. And that's something that you could definitely do if you want to keep it more straightforward. Okay, there we go. And that's all of them. So then from here, as always, you can go ahead and if you want, you can just put in some names, and then it'll go ahead and populate it as needed. You can see it's populating it there. You can always randomize And I think for the other stuff, it is available in the first tutorial, so you can just check it out. But this is just a bit of basics of how you can create desks, how you can create the items. You can always remove them. You can always like swap some. If you want to clear all the desks or clear all the placeholders, you can do that, but you want to be really mindful with it. If you want to create a bunch of classes with the same template, what I would suggest is that you just create a clear template. You have like no names, or maybe you just have some filler names, and then from there you just name whatever that like template is as maybe like template, yeah, maybe just template. And then from there, whenever you want to create a new class, you just sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry, that's a good point. So whenever you do this, you do save this whenever you switch between tabs. But the reason why this didn't populate is because if you're just on this tab and you're working on this, it isn't saving automatically. So what you need to do is you need to press the save button. So if you're working on this and you're about to leave the tab, you need to press the save button before you leave the tab so your work is saved. Otherwise, if you just leave this tab on Chrome, then it's not going to save your work and you're going to have to start from scratch. However, if you move between these, it does automatically save. So now, let me just go ahead and delete this, and I will go ahead and duplicate this again and create a class name template. And now you'll see it is copied because I actually did save this class and there was something to copy. So now whenever I want to create like classes for period 1, period 2, and so on, I just want to create a copy of that, and now I can use it and I can just reuse that template and I can keep that, so I can change other things as necessary, but I keep that the same. Additionally, something else that I added that could be pretty useful is the PDF option, where over here, if you go and press on print, it's going to show you this preview screen. So what you can do with this is you can either print it out or you could save it as a PDF. What it does is it takes the table, or it takes the classroom section, and it puts it on the paper. So as you can see here, it does automatically bring it to the upper right corner, but with a few changes you can adjust that. So one thing worth mentioning is that if your classroom is not like this and it's the other way instead, you could always make the paper portrait instead, or you can make it landscape, whatever works best for you. From there, paper size, it's probably going to be standard as letter. Pages per sheet, I think that should usually always be 1. And then for scale, if you find that maybe it's too big or it's too small, you could always change that. So for example, right now, it has it as 80 here, so I can check out 100, and it doesn't quite fill up the whole page, so maybe I'll say that I want it at 110, and so that can make it so it fills up the whole page. So you can kind of just play around with that scale and see what works best for you. Outside of that, now you can see that it isn't really taking up the whole page. So what you can do is, maybe if you want to have a notes section, you could just leave this as is. But if you don't want to have that and you want it to be more centered, what you can do is you can go to margins and you can go to custom. And from here, this is super cool because it lets you drag these stuff and then add the margin. So here, for example, I can add margin, and that's going to push my item down. Here, I could also add margin in the left and right, but in this case I don't want to do that because it fits really snug here. So now, since I want to move this down, I can just keep adding margin on the top until it just pushes it up. And here I can see that was way too much margin, so I can just add it like that, and there we go. This isn't completely centered, it's not completely perfect, but I think it's pretty close and it's super reasonable. So this is one way that you could go ahead and save that, or you could go ahead and also just print it. So now if I want, I can just go ahead and okay, so I guess that's one thing to learn. I think you maybe have to press a little more. Let's try that again. Sorry, I'm a bit new to this myself. So okay, so there we go, we have that. And then maybe you just want to stay on whatever you're doing, like the printing or the PDF. and then you can just print this out or save it as is, and then yeah, you can work with that. So those are all the new features. I think besides that, if you want, yeah, the tutorial is now linked to a playlist instead of a single video. So there will be a part 1 with a lot of other information, and then the part 2 will have the information from this video. But yeah, I think that's all of the new stuff. Thank you for listening.